You have seen Pokemon randomizers, and you've seen Pokemon monotype Nuzlockes, but have you ever seen them done together? That is what we'll be attempting in this series that I like to call Pokemon Monotype Randomizer Nuzlockes. Catchy name, I know. In this series, I'll be playing through all 19 games in Gen 5 and before. The catch? I will only be able to use a single Pokemon type per game until I've run through all 18 types. Okay, well, 17 types. Fairy wasn't added until Gen
6.
And randomizing games out of Gen 5 gets much harder. But it's not just the Pokemon that are randomized. Oh no, so are the items. To get a full look at all the Nuzlocke rules I follow, click link in the description below. But in short, I can only use one Pokemon type per run, determined by whichever randomized starter I choose. I cannot overlevel past any gym leader's ace, and I can reroll on encounters till I find the Pokemon with the right type. So let's get things started, and see where the wheel takes us.
So we're going to start off by saying which game we get first. And it's going to be Pokemon Red. Alright.
We start our journey in Pallet Town, where Professor Oak saves us from the evil wild Pokemon lurking in the grass. He takes us to his lab, where we are presented with 3 Pokemon to choose from: Caterpie, Charmander, and Poliwag. Being the logical thinker I am, I go with Poliwag, knowing that there's an abundance of water-type Pokemon in Gen 1, and that will certainly make this playthrough as easy as it can be. I name my Poliwag Poland, and knock out my rival's Caterpie with no issue. After searching in earnest in every route, I'm able to encounter a Magikarp on Route 2, and name him Molly, but he won't be of any use until he can evolve into a Gyarados at level 20, and the first gym's level cap is 14. So we set him aside for the time being, and focus on leveling Poland. It isn't long before we get Poland to level 12, and I decided to test his strength against the first gym trainer. He ends up having a Spearow, who knows Peck, and takes over a third of our health without a critical hit. Since Poland literally only knows one move, Bubble, things are not looking so swell here. I use a potion to get my health up to 27, but Spearow again uses Peck, bringing my health down to 14. If my calculations are correct, his Peck only does 13 damage. Therefore, theoretically we can last another round, as long as he doesn't get another crit. I luck out and Spearow uses Growl, which misses because in Gen 1 apparently speed and accuracy are tied together. I'm able to last another round, and he hits me with another Growl, which actually lands this time. I go for Bubble one last time, but it hits, leaving Spearow with just 1 HP, and his Peck gets a high roll and knocks me out. Well, so much for attempt 1. Let's try this again. On my second attempt, nothing changes except that we get Poliwag to level 14, and this time avoid the first trainer, because apparently Spearow is too bulky for poor Poland to handle. So we instead just head straight for Brock. His first Pokemon is a Diglett, so Poland has no issue blasting with just 2 bubbles and taking him out. Diglett did manage to land a Scratch, however, which would end up being a death sentence as Brock's ace ends up being a Gloom. As I land my first bubble, and see it only take a fraction of health off the Gloom, which is quickly absorbed back as it lands a crit which nearly one-shots us. I know this run is doomed. But do I give up? Do I just let Poland go down without a fight? Yeah, I kinda do. And unfortunately, it's pretty clear I'm not gonna be able to make it anywhere in this game with just a Poliwag at the first gym. So, as much as it pains me to do, on attempt 3 I leave Poland behind, and instead choose Canada the Charmander. To rub it in my face, my rival Poopy picks up Poland, and he quickly wipes out Canada in his very first battle. Fortunately, I haven't yet been able to pick up Pokeballs, so technically the Nuzlocke hasn't started, and I can continue on with my dignity slightly intact. Unfortunately, there aren't any fire types in the first few routes, and I'm going to have to let Canada take this gym on solo. But with Ember, he's able to wipe out Brock's Gloom with no issue, and Brock uses our very first TM, Supersonic. Surprisingly, Canada is able to learn it, and this will actually be a lifesaver later on in our playthrough. While battling some trainers on Route 3, Canada evolves into a Charmeleon, and we press on. But as I run back and forth through Route 3 and Mount Moon, it becomes clear that I still won't be able to get another encounter. Not only that, but even with avoiding as many trainers as I could, Canada was still getting dangerously close to the level cap of 21. I did manage to find a few TMs. The only one that Canada could learn, however, was Quick Attack. Determined not to overlevel, I skip past the first trainer in Misty's gym, but I have no choice to take on the second one. She sends out a level 19 Seal, and I instantly panic. I start by using Ember, thinking that Seal is an Ice Water type and that'll do neutral damage. But this is Gen 1, so of course this isn't how this works. Thankfully I get the burn, however, and after spamming Quick Attack I'm able to take it out. After all, Seal doesn't learn any Water type attacks until past level 30. However, as I'm heading back to heal poor Canada up, I forget to run around the first trainer again, and he locks eyes with me. He of course has a shelter, and my anxiety goes up again. However, as I start spamming quick attacks, it becomes clear pretty quickly that all he knows is withdraw, and I take him out without any difficulty. Next he sends out a Bellsprout, and I take it out with one Ember. So after healing up, I go back to face Misty. She sends out a Nidorina to start, so I start spamming Embers. I'm able to take it out in 4 turns, but not before Nidorina connects with the Poison Sting, which poisons Canada. Next, she sends out a Magneton, and I think I'm sitting real pretty. After all, I've got an Ember, and I can easily take out Magneton with— Huh? Why'd they do so little damage? Oh my god, Steel type isn't a thing in this gym. Okay, so this might be a little scary. I decided to just keep pushing through with Ember, and just hope for the best. In fact, I actually managed to get in a burn, but not before her Magneton hits me with a sonic boom. While on Mount Moon, I managed to pick up a full restore, so I quickly used that in Canada, and easily finished through the battle, knocking Misty out. Yes, I will be using items sparingly throughout this playthrough, as this is a randomizer, and there are certain battles that will be literally impossible without the use of items, especially in Gen 1 where there's no such thing as held items. Hopefully it doesn't ruin the playthrough for you. If it does, go ahead and let me know in the comments. If enough people find it cheap to use items, I may stop using them. Alright, back to the video. Now that we've knocked out Misty, our level cap is 24, and there's absolutely no way they were going to keep Canada from overleveling past 24. I press on, however, hoping and praying that I'll be able to get another fire type encounter before the next gym. But first, I've got to take down Gary on Nugget Bridge. His first Pokemon is a Nidorino, who's able to connect with a few hard-hitting horn attacks. Next out is a Rhyhorn. Thankfully, he's 7 levels lower, and Never's actually able to take him out in 3 hits, but not before he takes us down into the orange. Next out is Spearow, who leaves us with just 3 HP after using Fury Attack, which hits 4 times. One more hit and we would have been donezo. I decided to go with the Quick Attack, which takes him out, leaving us with just one more Pokemon to get through. Poland. Poland has now become a Poliwhirl, and while he may be 3 levels lower, he's still scary as hell with Hypnosis and Water Gun. I start off by using Fresh Water, which heals us up. We manage to connect with a few Embers, which I'm hoping will burn him, but to no avail. Poliwhirl tries to use Hypnosis, but we thankfully avoid it. However, we don't get so lucky the second time he uses it, and he begins to quickly take us down until we are left in the red. I decided not to take any risk and use my second item, this time a full restore, as Poliwhirl again goes with Hypnosis, but again misses. We connect with a Quick Attack the next turn and take him out, meaning that using a full restore was useless, and could have actually been a run ender if he connected with Hypnosis. But he didn't, and we advance through Nugget Bridge. I take out the rest of the trainers with not much difficulty, but in the process level up Canada to 26, meaning I'm really going to need another fire type if I want to continue this run. My luck prevails as I found a Growlithe on Route 4, and proceeded to name him Granada. Why this was the first country I could think of that started with G, I'm not quite sure, but we're just going to roll with it. Granada is level 15, meaning I've got a lot of grinding to do before he's ready to face Lieutenant Surge. However, for some reason, I think it's a good idea just to skip past all the trainers in the SS Sand, and just go straight for the third rival battle. I've managed to get Granada to level 17 at this point, but he's still a long ways off from where he needs to be. This time, Poopy sends out a Clefairy to start, who Granada actually managed to take out without taking any damage, leveling up to 18. Next up is Butterfree, who I think would be an easy kill for Granada. He of course gets confused though, and doesn't have a fire attack, so I soon realized I should probably send in Canada. Since Poopy isn't a gym leader, I can still use him for this battle. Canada's able to take him out easily with Ember, but not before Butterfree managed to land a Poison Powder. Next up is a level 18 Golem. When I see this, I honestly think this attempt is done for, but somehow Canada manages to persevere and get through Golem without having to use any items. Last up is Poliwhirl, who helps me quickly realize I'm quite fucked. The only healing items I have are potions, which will only heal up to a fourth of my health. And as Poliwhirl connects to the water gun, I see this is going to be next to impossible to get through. So after I run through all my 7 potions, both Canada and Granada go down, and I'll have to start yet again from the beginning. I guess Poland got its revenge after all. To save time, I'll skip through everything we've already been through, as it's really all the same. Well, at least until we get up to Route 25, which is where I decided to walk a different path and come across a different trainer, which apparently was a game changer, as this trainer had a Kabuto. This is where I learned that Kabuto is a game ender to come across, as it has a rock water type, meaning that fire moves are 4 times weak against it, and normal moves are 2 times weak, meaning that there is nothing that Canada could really do except spam rage until our fateful end. Okay, 5th time's a charm, right? On this run, I actually managed to find a Vulpix instead on Route 4, who I named Venezuela, and add him to the team. This time, I actually decided to try and battle through the SSN, and managed to find the TM Spore, which is also one of the most overpowered moves in Gen 1. You see, the sleeping mechanic in Gen 1 is absolutely busted, because instead of waking up at the start of your turn, you wake up at the end of it, meaning that if your Pokemon is faster than the other one, you can keep them asleep without letting them hit you once. And what do you know? Charmeleon is actually able to learn it for some weird reason. Now we're truly unstoppable. I go to face Blue once again, and this time I just put all his Pokemon to sleep, and breezed by him with no issues. Now that I've gotten cut from the captain, I've just gotta teach one of my what did I just do? Oh my god! And that, kids, is why you always need to be careful when using speed up in Pokemon, because you are bound to make an absolutely brain-dead decision like this. Now that I've lost Spore, this run is going to be so much more difficult, but I'm determined to fight through. As I'm battling through, I managed to find a Growlithe in Diglett Cave. Now that I've got 2 fire types I can use against Lieutenant Surge, I'm feeling pretty good about my chances. I've got both Venezuela and Granada leveled up to 24, so let's just see how it goes. I start out with Growlithe, and Surge starts out with a Slowpoke. Okay, already a bad start. I begin to spam bites as Slowpoke spams Leers. Thankfully, he doesn't think to use an attacking move, and I'm able to knock it out without taking any damage. Next out is Venonat, who I'm able to take out with 2 Embers, as it only takes 7 total damage. Surge's ace, however, is an Electrode, so I already know him, and keep Granada in. But before I can even land a single move, Electrode uses Self-Destruct and takes out Granada. So while we may have 3 gym badges, we only have 1 Pokemon that's actually going to be usable against Erica. So unless we get another Pokemon, we're probably done for. But you know what? Let's just keep trekking on. Maybe we'll get lucky. After battling through Granite Cave, we make it all the way to Celadon City. We're able to avoid all the trainers except for one in this gym, meaning we'd be facing Erica right as Venezuela reaches level 29. Unfortunately, Erica's first Pokemon is a Poliwrath, meaning Venezuela's going to need to pull off a miracle in order to get past this battle. I start off with a Confuse Ray, hoping to get lucky, but Poliwrath fights through and hits us with a Water Gun that takes over half our health. Well, that's this run over. Just to make myself feel a little better, I decided to finish the battle using Canada, and he's able to take all our Pokemon out. But since he's already level 33, I'm going to have to start back at the very beginning. Again. On my 6th attempt, I get poisoned by a Weedle while training up Canada in the Viridian Forest, and don't even notice, so I yet again have to restart, this time even before facing the first gym. But I was determined, so I restarted the game right away and went on to attempt number 7. I learned a lot in my first 6 attempts, namely not to speed through everything and actually pay attention to what I'm doing. On this attempt, I come across a Growlithe on Route 4, meaning I won't be able to get a Vulpix encounter until at least Granite Cave. But that's alright, because this time, I've got a plan. This time, I teach Spore to Growlithe instead of Charmeleon, meaning I can actually use it for the next 2 gyms. I also teach Growlithe a very handy TM I managed to pick up, Crab Hammer. Crab Hammer is Krabby's signature move, and it's a 100 base power water type move. This is going to be absolutely instrumental in helping us take out pesky rock and ground type Pokemon, though it normally resists fire type attacks. But how on earth was Growlithe able to learn it? Good question. Since Crab Hammer is actually a signature move, it isn't normally available as a TM, and normally there'd be no way to pick it up in-game. But since randomizers didn't exist when this game was made, the devs didn't think to make Crab Hammer not available to all Pokemon. Therefore, since we're able to find the TM for it randomly in the SSN, it's available for literally any Pokemon to learn. Now that we have Crab Hammer and Spore, getting through our rival is a piece of cake as we put all his Pokemon to sleep. This time, I also didn't make the mistake of teaching Cut to one of my starters, and instead give it to a random Gloom, which is going to be one of our HM slaves. Since Canada has again overleveled, it's up to Granada to get through Lieutenant Surge on his own. Even with Spore, we would still need a bit of luck to get through this, as Electrode is faster than Growlithe, and if he manages to land a self-destruct, it's all over. Thankfully, the AI in Gen 1 is insanely stupid, and Surge decides to use an X speed, even though he's already faster than us. That allows us to get off his Spore, and burn him with Ember before Electrode even has a chance to wake up, winning us our 3rd Gem badge. Finally, we make it to Granite Cave, where we get to add Venezuela back to the team. With 3 Pokemon to split XP amongst each other, we're able to keep Charmeleon from overleveling for this gym, meaning that we actually have a great chance of beating Erica this time around. Erica again leads with Poliwrath, and I lead with Granada. Poliwrath manages to outspeed us, and hits Granada with a water gun before we can get off his Spore. Granada doesn't have any hard-hitting moves, so I switch over to Charmeleon, and get off a Supersonic before he wakes up. I then spam him with Horn attacks, and eventually win the battle. However, if Poliwrath hadn't hit himself in confusion once, and I hadn't got this critical hit, this battle could have gone very differently. Erica sends out a Pidgeot next, and I switch back into Granada and heal up with the Super Potion. Pidgeot was faster than me. It made this battle frustrating by spamming sand attacks, but with a few rounds I'm able to knock it out. For her last Pokemon, Erica has a Hypno, and this ends up being much more challenging than I realized. I try to use a Spore, but since Pidgeot has used a bunch of sand attacks, we miss. I go for it again, but Hypno outspeeds us and hits us with a hard Seismic Toss as I miss another Spore. I decide to use a second Super Potion, but Hypno hits us with a Hypnosis. Try saying that 5 times fast. Out of options, I use a Super Potion on Canada, and switch him in. Hypno hits us with a Seismic Toss on the switch. I go with Supersonic, and luckily I'm able to land it as Hypno hits itself in confusion. I try using Ember, but it doesn't do nearly enough damage, so I have to start using Horn Attack. However, just as we get Hypno in the red, he lands a Hypnosis. The stars align yet again, however, and we're able to wake up right away and land a Horn Attack. Hypno lands a Seismic Toss too, however, but since we're faster, we're able to take him out, narrowly winning us our 4th Gem badge. It's funny, normally Erica is one of the easiest trainers to beat, but since all our Pokemon are randomized, it actually made it really challenging. Between Gyms 4 and 5, there's a lot of content to get through, and the level cap skyrockets to 43, meaning we're able to get a lot of training in. After battling through the game corner, we finally face off against Giovanni. We luck out as he leads with Ivysaur, and I lead with Growlithe. We're able to get off his Spore, and take it out with just 3 quick Embers. Next up is Rhyhorn, and we're able to easily take it out with a critical hit Crab Hammer. You may or may not have noticed by now, but Crab Hammer almost always hits as a critical hit. And this isn't a glitch, I promise you. Much like Slash, Crab Hammer is a move that is more likely to hit with a crit. That makes it stupidly good in Gen 1, where critical hits are determined by a Pokemon's speed. Therefore, since Growlithe is a decently fast Pokemon, Crab Hammer hits critically almost every single time it's used, which is amazing for us. But let's get back to the playthrough. Giovanni's last Pokemon is a Parasect, which we easily take out with 2 Embers. Giovanni may have been a piece of cake this time through, but this won't be the last time we have to face him. Our next big battle is against our rival in Pokemon Tower, but this one is pretty easy, so I'm just going to gloss over it. At this point in the game, I'm able to buy Firestones from Celadon City, but decide to not use them until Granada and Venezuela learn Flamethrower. Vulpix doesn't learn until level 35, which isn't too bad. However, Growlithe doesn't learn it until level 50, which by that point will be facing off against the 8th gym leader. Instead of going straight to Saffron City to face against Giovanni again, I decide instead to go down the bridge over to Future City. After searching in the Safari Zone, on Cycling Path, and fishing everywhere I could find, I couldn't find another Fire-type anywhere. Finally, I decided to check Pokemon Tower, and lo and behold, I find a Ponyta. I now have 4 usable Pokemon, and I managed to fully evolve 2 of them. So I'm feeling pretty good about this run now. There are only 3 other potential Fire types left in the game now: Magmar, Flareon, and Moltres. But we'll get into that more later. After battling pretty much every trainer I can find, I decide it's time to take on Giovanni and Saffron. He sends out Wigglytuff, and I send out Growlithe. I use a Spore to put him to sleep, and then switch out to pull in the Ponyta. After a few embers, I take him out. Next up is Fearow, so I again switch into Growlithe and put him to sleep. I then switch into Venezuela, who's able to learn the TM Thundershock, making him a great matchup against flying and water types. And after 3 hits, Fearow was also down. I'm able to take out Drowsy using the same strategy, and I'm feeling pretty high in life at this point. However, things are about to take a change for the worst. As for its last Pokemon, Giovanni sends out a Dugong. I switch in Growlithe to start, who takes a hard-hitting Aurora Beam before he can land a Spore. I guess Fire doesn't resist Ice moves in Gen 1 for some reason. In order to take this Dugong out, I know I'm going to need my heaviest hitter, so I send out Charizard. I use Slash, but even with the crit, I don't even take half of Dugong's HP. However, with a bit of luck, Dugong stays asleep the whole entire battle, and I'm able to take him out in 3 hits. And with this win, Giovanni gives us a Master Ball. Since none of my Pokemon are even close to level 43, and I decide to take on as many gym trainers as I can in Sabrina's gym before I face Koga. In fact, Sabrina and Koga both have level 43 Pokemon as their aces. And since this game is randomized, it really doesn't matter who I face first. So I decide to take a shot at Sabrina. She starts off with a Kangaskhan, and I of course stick to my flawless strategy of putting it to sleep with Growlithe, and taking it out with another Pokemon. Honestly, I can't even begin to express how lucky I am that I was able to find a Spore as a TM. This has made this run almost too easy. I end up using the same strategy on our second Kangaskhan, and hit her Tangela with the super effective Flamethrower for the one-shot. Last up is Seadra, who for some reason has Absorb, and tries using that against me? Yeah, needless to say, I'm able to take it out no problem with a few Thundershocks. And just like that, I have 6 badges, and have never soared higher. I come to find out that the random item that Sabrina gives us is Absorb, which is why her Seadra had it. Unfortunately, none of my Pokemon can learn it, so in the trash it goes. Since I've already taken on all his trainers, I'm able to immediately take on Koga next. He starts out with an Oddish of all things, and I'm able to 2-shot it with Ember. Next up is Slowbro, so I use Spore and switch into Venezuela. She's able to get off a Thundershock, but Slowbro wakes up the next turn. Knowing I'm probably fucked, I decide to go on and use another Thundershock, which happens to crit, and Slowbro uses Withdraw, meaning I'm able to take it out in the next turn. Surely my luck has got to end at some point, right? Last up is Koga's Ace, a Machamp. I decide my best bet is switching to Charizard, since fighting moves are not very effective against flying. But apparently I didn't need to worry at all, because as Charizard goes for Slash, Koga just stuffs the Machamp's mouth full of X attacks, and I take him out without suffering any damage. Koga gives us Fire Blast, which ended up being huge later on. I decide to go to the Seafoam Islands next, hoping I might be able to find an Eevee or a Magmar. As I run around, my faith begins to dwindle as it becomes pretty clear I'm not going to be able to find what I'm looking for. I decide to go ahead and find a legendary bird, just out of curiosity to see what it might be, and it ends up being a Moltres. I pull my Master Ball and catch it no problem, and decide to name it Malta. Now my team is just 1 Pokemon away from being complete. Okay, quick spoiler alert, we're not going to be catching any more Pokemon. Eevee and Magmar never show up anywhere unfortunately, so we can't catch them. I'm at my way back to Cinnabar Island, but all I find in the Pokemon Mansion are trainers to bully. After finding the key, I take on Blaine with my 4 fire types. Unfortunately, Malta has passed the level cap, so I'm not able to use her. He starts out with a Doduo, who goes down to Venezuela's Thundershocks pretty easily. Next up is a Mr. Mime, who goes down to a few slashes from Canada. Blair happens to have a Tangela too, and he goes down to a one-shot flamethrower. Last up is a Lapras, and this is where things are going to get scary. I send out Granada, and thankfully is able to outspeed with Spore. That means that as long as I pay attention when Lapras wakes up, I'll be able to slowly whittle away on his HP till he faints. Thankfully, I managed to actually pay attention for once, and after a while I take down the Lapras. We now just have one more gym leader to take on. The level cap for this gym is 50, meaning we can finally get Granada to learn Flamethrower, and evolve him into Arcanine. Also, I'll be able to use Malta as well, giving me a full 5 Pokemon roster. Let's see how it goes. Giovanni starts off with an Eevee, and my Flamethrower leaves it with just a sliver of HP. However, Eevee uses Takedown, so he kills himself with recoil damage. I then take out his Sandslash with Crabhammer, his Haunter with Flamethrower, and his Rhydon with Crabhammer again. Granada is truly unstoppable. Last up is a Chansey, who isn't going down easily to Granada, so I switch into Poland, who is now evolved into a Rapidash, and is able to take Chansey out with a double kick. After the battle, Giovanni gives me the TM for Ice Punch, which I teach to Charizard. And just like that, I now have all 8 gym badges. Before I take on the Elite Four, I have to take on my rival one last time on Victory Road. He starts off with a Weepinbell, who I easily take out with a Flamethrower from Granada. Next up is a Magnemite, who also goes down to 2 Flamethrowers. Next up is a Dragonite, so I leave Granada in and use Spore to put him to sleep. I then switch to Charizard, who takes him out with 2 Ice Punches before he wakes up. Next is Poliwag, who goes down to 1 Thundershock from Venezuela. Gyarados is next, so I leave Venezuela in to try and one-shot him with a Thundershock. Big mistake. Not only did I not manage to even take out half his health, Gyarados hits him with a Hydro Pump, and Venezuela goes down. My first death in this attempt. I then switch into Arcanine, but as I'm trying to select Spore, I accidentally click Takedown instead, which misses, and he gets off another Hydro Pump, leaving me with just a fourth of my health. Thankfully, I did notice that Granada is faster, so I'm able to safely get off a Spore, and safely chip down his health with Flamethrower until I take him out. Last but not least is his Poliwrath, and I decided not to take any chances and Spore him as well. I again chip away with Flamethrower until I win the battle. Losing Venezuela definitely isn't a run under, but it's going to make things much more difficult. Thankfully, Malta the Moltres is actually able to learn Thunder Punch, so I still have an Electric-type user. Nevertheless, I soldier on, and after grinding my Pokemon all to level 60, it's time to take on the Elite Four. Okay, I'll be honest. The Elite Four is honestly a breeze with Arcanine having Spore, so I'm not going to bore you with each individual fight. I take out all of Lorelai's Pokemon with just Granada. Next up is Bruno, who I don't even have to use Spore to defeat, as his Pokemon all end up being pretty weak. Originally I had 2 Onyxes, who have garbage stats, so that's probably why I didn't have any great Pokemon. Next is Agatha, who leads with the Tentacruel. I put it to sleep and switch out to Malta, but Tentacruel wakes up. Thankfully he just goes for a withdraw, and I'm able to take it out with 2 Thunder Punches. Her next 4 Pokemon are all able to be one-shotted, except for Vaporeon, who takes 2 Thunder Punches to kill. Last up is Drake, who of course leads with the Gyarados. But I learned from my lesson last time, and used Spore Hacks to take him down. Graveler, Ponyta, and Scyther all go down to one-hit KOs, and for his last Pokemon, a Vaporeon again, interestingly enough, I take it out with a critical hit Thunder Punch. And there we have it, I'm the champion! Let's go ahead and advance to the next room and claim our Hold up. What is Poopy doing here? Oh god, here we go again. This time out, Poopy starts out with a Raichu, who goes down to Sport Hacks. Next up is Tentacruel, and I decided not to be lame and actually try and use Malta. She lands a Thunder Punch, but Tentacruel hits back with a Hydro Pump, nearly taking us out. thankfully one more Thunder Punch takes out the Tentacool, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. Next up is Magmar, who goes down to a Crab Hammer from Granada. After that is Dragonite again, and I again decide to go risky and send in Charizard. My luck pays off this time, however, and I get a critical hit on the Ice Punch, which one-shots the Thick Daddy Dinosaur. Ninetales is next, but she too goes down to one Crab Hammer. Last but not least is the dreaded Poliwrath. I decide to stick with Granada, and once again use Spore Hacks to take him out. And just like that, I've officially completed my Fire-type randomized Nuzlocke. One down, only 16 to go. If you for some reason made it this far in the video, thank you, honestly. This is the first in a very long series, so hope you enjoyed it. And I'll come back around for the next installment. To be honest, by the end of this run it felt a little bit too easy. Especially with us being able to spam Spore all the time. I don't know what rule I could have set in place beforehand to prevent it. But I'll definitely be adding more rules as these go along to make things a little more difficult for myself. If you'd like to see me attempt my next one without any items, comment Big Bird is the greatest Nuzlocker of all time. And if I get enough of those, I may just consider it. All that being said though, go ahead and drop a like on this video, as well as boost it in the algorithm. And also consider subscribing as well. Thank you for all your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.